On this upcoming Attractions episode, we've got trailers for Godzilla vs. Kong, Silk Road, and Boss Level. Plus, we saw WandaVision and our review for One Night in Miami. All this and more on Midnight Double Feature.
G'day, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Hope you're all well, and thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Midnight Double Feature. This is an upcoming Attractions episode where we get into Godzilla vs. Kong, Silk Road, we get into our review of One Night in Miami and WandaVision. But first and foremost, I'm just going to let you know that there is an interview in this particular episode, and that interview is with the one and only Kevin Lewis, who directed a movie called Willy's Wonderland, and that movie stars none other than Nicolas Cage. That's right, Nicolas Cage. That movie is out on paid VOD on the 12th of December. 12th of February. Jesus, I don't even know what year it is. But 12th of February is when that movie is out. It looks awesome. It looks fantastic. Thank you so much to Kevin for jumping in for this particular episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for your insight. We got into so much stuff, including what it's like working with Nicolas Cage, what it's like working with animatronics and practical effects. It was a fantastic interview. So thank you so much to Kevin for jumping in and offering his insight. That's it for me, guys. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoy this episode. And remember to rate and review the podcast.
Okay, so here we are, guys. It's Matt with Zoheb, and today we are joined by Kevin Lewis for Willy's Wonderland. How's it going, Kev? How you doing?
Doing good, guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much for doing this with us today. So let's get right into it, man. So I want to kick things off with the number one question that I think is on everybody's mind. I'm sure you get it all the time. You know it's coming, but we have to ask.
Okay.
What is it like working with Nicolas Cage and directing him specifically?
We can't bury the lead.
Amazing. I mean, Nick is incredible. He was a great partner on this movie, and he gave 110%. We never disagreed on anything. We saw eye to eye on this movie. He worked so hard on it. He was just great. Yeah, nothing but great things to say about Mr. Nicolas Cage.
That's cool. Is it like so it sounds like it's a very collaborative experience and stuff, but did you find like working together, were you aiming for like the crazier route of things, or were you trying to keep things grounded with him? Like just in terms of performance, because I know in most recent years he's picked some like really cool films with some really like crazy concepts, and this is animatronic demon animals. It's no different. So how's that like in terms of finding like the character with him?
Well, we saw eye to eye on the character. I mean, off the get, So I would just come and pitch him on how I wanted to shoot things, because this wasn't a movie where I can go and say, okay, what are we feeling today? I had a shot list, 70-page shot list. Every frame was etched out. I call it the Willy's Bible, because that's on a movie like this, you need that. And so I would go over with Nick and just say, this is what I'm thinking, and this is what I want to do. And he was just a great team player.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's great to hear, because I mean, like with Nick Cage especially, the audience, when they sit down for a movie, you don't know which Nick Cage you're going to get. You don't know who you're going to get, and that's one of the amazing things, in my opinion, about Nick Cage. Is just he's so unpredictable. He's just got like a range of tools in his kit that he can just pull out and use at any moment. So
he's like his own genre.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
When you say Nick Cage, it can be a variety of different. That's what it was. He's a movie star, but he's also a great character actor. He's its own genre.
100%.
That's what we love about him.
I mean, the leading action man of the 90s. I mean, that run of movies he had with Con Air, The Rock, and Face Off. Like, I mean, the guy was unrivaled at one point.
I know.
I'm just curious. Yeah. This might lead into another question of ours, but when you have a script like this,
Yeah.
Do you like? I'm assuming it wasn't like do you know if it was like written with him or an actor like him in mind, or like do you check like when you go for Nick Cage, do you make any adjustments to the tone or the script like to appeal to someone like him, or like what's that process with like getting Nick on board for this?
He liked the script immediately. You know, Geo Parsons wrote a great script, and Jeremy Davis, a producing friend of mine, brought it to me, and Jeremy optioned the script, and we just said, you know, Nick is the guy to do this movie, and we got it to him, and he loved it, and we saw eye to eye on how to make the movie. So
that's awesome. That's fantastic. I mean, that's such a rare thing.
It is, and you got to have creative partners that share vision, you know, or you know you're going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
No, totally. So Willy's Wonderland reminds me of kind of like other indie movies with wild premises anchored by a big star, like Carrie Elwes in Saw or Mel Gibson recently in Fat Man. When you have someone as amazing and well known as Nick Cage as your lead, how do you work as a director with the rest of your cast in terms of getting them to deliver a performance that not necessarily matches his energy and level, but kind of like stand next to him and act as confident as Nick Cage? Because, I mean, Nick Cage walks into the room, any actor's going to be like, oh man, I'm kind of somewhat intimidated. Do you do something on set, or do you talk to your actors to somewhat comfort them about that?
You know what? Nick is such a gentle soul. Like there was no like people freaking out or whatever. He's such a giving actor, you know, so we had to do none of that, you know. Everybody saw on the page how we were going to make this movie. So, no.
That's great. That's good to hear. I mean, you don't want anyone, you know, intimidated. You just want everyone to, you know, be comfortable, you know, be a big kind of like melting pot, and just, you know, everyone deliver the best performance that they can possibly deliver, you know?
Yeah, we're making a movie, you know, Nick Cage versus an animatronic weasel. I mean, how cool is that, right?
100% on paper and, you know, on screen as well. Absolutely.
Would you say the weasel's your favorite of the animatronic animals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's awesome.
A personal favorite of Kevin Lewis is nice.
I couldn't help but notice, just looking online, there's a bit of a cult following already for this film, especially from like the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base. Like they are absolutely so excited for this film. There's been lots of like I've seen cool fan art of all the animals and stuff too.
Yes,
like
awesome
in general,
stuff.
Yeah. What's the reception been like?
Oh, I mean, mind-boggling. I mean, you got kids, you know, drawing, you know, creatures. I have even I have four kids, but they're drawing, you know, all Willies, Willy and his gang. And the art is just amazing, you know, and I made this movie for that. I wanted it to be for the fanboys and girls out there. I'm a big pop culture collector, you know, love comic books, you know, all the stuff. And I made this movie for that. Love, you know, Evil Dead. You know, that was kind of what I wanted. You know, I wanted an 80s retro vibe to the movie. Not that it takes place in the 80s, but just it feels that, because that's the time I grew up in. You know?
Yeah, I think Evil Dead, I can really see that like influence here, like the whole like large than life craziness to it, but also it seems to be like, well, you're having fun with it and like you totally know what the movie is, but you're also like you're keeping it like a little bit serious. It seems to be like
especially
and
Evil
really
Dead
playing
2.
up the violence. Yeah, like Evil Dead 2. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Evil Dead 2 is. I watched this trailer and I was like, wait, hold on. This is because I'd watched Evil Dead 2 again for the millionth time like a week before, and I was like, oh my god, it's like it's got the same vibes, and it's, you know, the lead is a strong silent type who, you know, exudes so much charisma. Was that a conscious inspiration for you?
Yeah, I mean, I love Sam Raimi. Yeah, one of my, you know, I when I came to LA, started going to film school. I met him and he signed my Army of Darkness poster. Still have it framed, you know, and he's very inspirational to me. You know, he's a guy that just, his movies are incredible, and I wanted to do something fun and retro, like I said, and pop culture, but not, milking the 80s, being its own, thing, I feel we did it,
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. I can totally see like merchandise just going out the window on the shelves. Like those like I'd love to get like that weasel as like an action figure or something. That'd be so cool.
Wouldn't that be cool? Pop vinyl or something?
Yeah, the pops, man. People go crazy for those. Yeah, that's awesome.
That was a really cool thing, is that to make these creatures in the horror lexicon. That's what I'm hoping happens.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that people see this movie and go, Willy and Siren Sarah and Gus the Gorilla and all of them, put them into the horror lexicon. I think it'd be great.
What do you think makes a good like iconic character in like the horror lexicon? Because I'm sure you must have thought throughout the process, like when creating these characters, like what's going to hook people, what's but in general, like what do you need to make that memorable, do you think?
It's funny because I remember emailing Nick when we were and
just casually emailing Nick Cage.
Yeah, we would text. We talk every night. And I said I wanted to make the janitor iconic. How do we do that? We gotta, let's make him iconic. One of my favorite movies is Drive.
Oh,
and isn't that a great movie?
Incredible movie. Strong silent type, right? I mean, Ryan Gosling is amazing in Drive. Yeah,
amazing, and he's iconic with the jacket and the scorpion jacket. And I wanted, hopefully people dress up like the janitor for Halloween, and the cosplayers with Willy, so there was a lot of thought and care put in the look of the creatures and the look of Nick, like the Ringer shirt, it's like it has a throwback to the Star Wars, the 70s Ringer, shirts, so yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. That must have been such a fun process. I can't imagine, like, that'd be great.
I just wanted to just quickly ask a question about yourself, Kevin. So I think it's fair to say that the trailer for Willy's Wonderland kind of took everyone by surprise. This thing dropped and everyone was just like, what is this? At least in our Facebook group, 100%. It was totally, there was like no build up to it. It was just like, here you go, here it is.
Yeah.
Not only was it an incredibly hard hitting and energetic trailer, but it was, full of like fantastic horror comedy moments. And like you said, Geo Parsons wrote the script. And my question is, who approached who? Did the script come to you as a true dark horror film, or did it become a bit more fun, tongue-in-cheek, as like that the trailer makes it out to be afterwards? And was that yourself that became involved in that to make it a bit lighter, or?
Yeah, well, Gio wrote a great script, and then Jeremy Davis, a producing friend of mine, he's the one that optioned it and brought it to me. And he championed this script for years and worked tirelessly every day. This movie would not have happened without Jeremy Davis. So he brought it to me, and then we, saw the same vision, and then we got it to Nick, and Nick immediately liked it. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think I read this script was on the Blood list for a while, wasn't it?
Blacklist.
Yes.
So yeah. That must have been really cool to grab a script like that. That's been already had so much praise before even touching it, right?
Yeah. It was such a unique story, and when I read it, I immediately saw it, how to make it. It all clicked, So yeah,
that must be such a rewarding experience, like to have that. Was it really challenging working with like the animatronics and stuff? I know there's like a huge, like, some people go crazy over the animatronic stuff, especially with the throwback element. But is that like with today's technology? Is it any easier, do you think, or do you think there was still a lot of issues like with just making all the moving parts come together and things?
Basically, if you don't have Stan Winston, how daunting is it?
Yeah.
Ken Hall did an amazing job. He built all those creatures. There's also Ozzy's a puppet, and then the rest are suits. And we had stunt people in the suits, and we had them because the servos on the eyes, when you look at the Chuck E. Cheese and the animatronics, they give it away, right? And so we had pulleys in the suits, and we would the stunt people would pull, and then the eyes would go up and down, And we only had one suit each, so once it destroyed, that was it.
Oh, wow! So those shots when when some get destroyed and stuff, like that must have been like so much pressure to get those shots right.
Yeah. Well, like I told you, I had a shot list, the Willy Bible, and I knew this lens, this angle, we're going to get here, and that's it. Because once we're done, we're out, And we did what we call the rage cage, where we would shake the camera, and we would. It's really cool. We'd do 18 frames per second, and then we would have lens flares. We'd have people shooting lens flares in the camera, and it would just be this. It was kind of. I love Darren Aronofsky and Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
When it's really intense. That's what I wanted. Yeah. I called it kind of the Popeye moments, because I wanted the janitor, once you start to fight these creatures, all of a sudden, he's eating a spinach, right?
Right.
It comes out, So
it takes a power up. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So in the movie, I wanted to have a really unique look, very otherworldly look to it.
I love that there are two Cages that star in this film: the Rage Cage and Nick Cage.
Rage Cage, yeah.
It's interesting. You say you wanted to have a unique look. The first, when I threw on this trailer, there were elements of it that looked like Mandy for me. Mandy, directed by Panos Cosmatos, again with Nick Cage.
Amazing.
And I was like, insane. It's basically like a painting come to life. And I was watching the trailer, and I was like, yeah, wow, this borrows elements from that film. So yeah, absolutely. It looks absolutely stunning, visually striking. Absolutely, 100%.
The colors too, yeah.
That's awesome, guys. Yeah, I wanted to make a very punk rock rave 2 a.m. movie. I'm talking about just balls to the wall. That's what I wanted to do.
Absolutely.
And so very colorful. I called it colorful dark. But and the production design, Molly Coffey did the production design. Did an amazing job.
I think you've 100 achieved what you're going for. That looks awesome.
and Dave Newbert, my DP, was incredible. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm curious. And feel free to answer this any way that you feel comfortable to. But in relation to your other works, which I'll have to admit, I don't know. I haven't seen all of them, but how would you compare this to some of your previous work?
Every movie's its own thing. I haven't made a movie like Willy's. Okay. So, I really went balls to the wall on Willy's. Just, if I'm never going to make another movie again, I just was like, I'm putting it all in, and really wanted to just do something different and unique. Yeah.
Well, if we are mentioning your previous works, Downward Angel is one that stuck out to me because, Matt Schultz is a childhood favorite of mine. I mean, from Fast and Furious. I mean, he's so incredible in Transporter as well. But for me, I would have been mad if I didn't ask you. I mean, Jonathan Banks is one of my favorite actors of all time. I mean, after Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, I mean. Amazing. How is he? I mean, I don't want to ask what's it like working with, X, but I mean, how is he awesome? Is he as amazing as he seems?
Oh yeah. He's great. I mean, he could just take any piece of dialogue and make it his own, it's pretty incredible. So that's awesome. He's a class act.
He seems like an actual, like one of those, he seems like a De Niro, like someone who's just who takes what's on the paper and just makes it sing.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Do you think like a film like this would be something you'd want to do more like in the future? Or would you do something more like Downward Angel, or like just? I'd imagine you would have done so many things for the first time in a film like this.
You guys, I want to make movies like Willy's Wonderland. Life's too short. I want to make fun movies. I want to make movies that get people excited. You guys are pumped to see it. You know what I mean? People like the trailer online. Like, that's what I want to do. We talk about Sam Raimi, like that's making movies, you know? So yeah, I want to do genre films, you know,
especially in times like this when people need escapism, you know,
right.
I mean, we just want to go to the movies and have fun. And speaking of which, the film was supposed to release in October of 2020, I think, from what I saw. But was removed from the release calendar because of the pandemic. How did you find directing and doing post-production during quarantine? Did you edit from your home, or did you have to go in? Or
it was very difficult. You know, we wrapped February 28th, and then I came back March 1st, and the pandemic hit. I was cutting in LA for 2 weeks, and then we got kicked out of the editing room.
Wow.
And then we'd have to go basically cut, you know, virtual, you know, but we did it, you know, but it was hard, you know. But the cool thing is that this movie, I shot it to cut. So you know, there was stuff that it's like, you know, we had 20 days to shoot this movie. So I knew I didn't have time to do all this extra stuff. That's why I had that shot list. I knew what we were going to need to cut it. So that helped tremendously.
That's awesome. I mean, just having to adapt, you know, very quickly to a very fluid situation. You know, every creative is going through pretty much the same thing, and everyone reacts or has a different process. Absolutely. So, yeah.
Do you feel like, because it seems like you had such a, you know, you only had a set amount of days, and you've talked about the Willy's Wonderland Bible and how you've had to be really set up with all that. Like, do you feel like being that set in stone and does it must help for efficiency, I imagine, like as in like terms of, you know, making your day, getting it all in the can.
Yeah.
Do you feel like is that something that we need more of in filmmaking, or is it really helpful to have all this extra time to play with things and stuff? Like,
you know, I think, you know, every movie's different, you know, but I knew on this film I had 20 days, and the way we had to light the creatures, if you light them wrong or shoot them at a different angle or something, they may come off hokey. That was my worst fear. Was, I call this a tightrope movie, you know, because if you don't do it right, this movie is just cheeseball, you know, and I didn't want that. So I planned with a shot list on every fine detail. And so I knew, and like I said, I mean, I had sometimes 6-7 pages a day, you know, and if I wasn't detailed oriented and planned, I would never have gotten it. You know, it wasn't a movie where I just said, hey, what are we feeling today? Okay. You know, it's like, no, everything had to be, you know, pre-planned. Like, there's a scene, I call it the fridge cam or the sink cam. It's like, well, we had to pull out the back of the fridge to put the camera there. I couldn't just shoot, you know? So, yeah.
Wow, like 7 days, 7 pages a day. That's fast. So, but you wouldn't know looking at the trailer. Like, it looks like so well like put together. It sounds like you run a really tight ship, really tight ship, dude. So honestly, I'm really like blown away to hear that. Like, congrats.
I'm so glad that alone, trailer.
Yeah, like that alone sounds like a massive achievement. Like, on top of having a great film on top of that. So congrats.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, look, I think I don't want to take up too much more of your time, so I think it's time we wrap this up. Just before we head out, do you have anything you'd like to say to the fans or anything like that before we go?
Hey, I made this movie for the fans. You know, for us. You know, we all love Nick Cage. We love, you know, pop culture, the 80s, all that stuff. That's movies for us. You know, unabashedly so. You know, I hope everybody enjoys it. You know, check your brain at the door and just have fun. You know, that's what I want. You know, I hope it. And the movie's a bullet. You know, it goes fast, and hopefully you guys just dig it and you're going to want to put it on again. That's what my goal was. You know, movies like, you know, Return of the Living Dead and Evil Dead and stuff like that. You know, you can put them on and then just watch them again. You know, I'm hoping Willy's is that. So, yeah.
I love that you're a fanboy just like us still with all this.
Oh, yeah.
It's really awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I just wanted to say, I love, yeah, exactly what Matt said. You feel like a fan, like you feel like someone
Yeah.
who loved this stuff growing up, and it's just like now it's my turn.
Yeah.
So it's awesome, man. It's good to see. But
Yeah.
yeah, Willy's Wonderland is out on VOD worldwide, February this year. February
Yeah.
12th from memory.
14,
Is
I
that
think.
correct?
12.
Yeah,
12.
12th, my bad.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, man. And
Thank you guys. It was great.
It was an
Awesome.
honor. It was an honor to have you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much to Kevin Lewis and Willy's Wonderland. We can't wait for the movie. Thank you so much for that. That was awesome. Such a great insight. All right, let's get into this. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode, for tuning in. Our socials are right there, right at the bottom in the show notes. I'm not going to plug anything besides the Patreon. If you do want to become a member of the Green Room, head to patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature. That's where all of our members get bonus episodes. And recently we've been recording video. So we've got a couple of videos dropped on there. I think we've got about 3, I think. So 2 from our interviews. And then Colin and I recorded a video for a bonus episode, which was fun, that we just dropped. So that was really cool. If you want to go check that out, that's available for members only, because I don't like showing my face to a lot of people. I get nervous. So if you head to patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature. Matt, what have you been up to lately? What's been happening? Talk to me. It's been a couple of weeks since we caught up, and I guess we'll keep it briefer than usual as well.
oh god, I can't think very well. As of today, I dropped a trailer for my latest short, Nobody Likes Camping. Check it out on youtube.com/VelomatFilms. It's dropping February 8th, so you may see me plug that around. Besides that, I've been playing Resident Evil 2 on PS4. I'm loving it.
Okay.
It is.
So? All right, tell me, because I don't know shit about the Resident Evil series. I don't know shit about the Final Fantasy series. Is that a remake? Because aren't they up to like 5 or 6 in Resident Evil?
They're about to. They actually just started advertising 8. Like they just announced 8 recently.
Oh well, fuck me in the ass.
Yeah, but yeah, there's 8 mainline ones, and there's a 0, and there's about 100 spin-offs, and they're nothing like the movies. Like the movies are nowhere close. And I'm not a diehard Resident Evil fan, I'll admit. Like I got into it around 4, because at the time it was considered like super revolutionary and stuff for like third-person action games. And then I think with 7 and 8, they went to first person and they really went to VR. But 2 and 3 are considered to be like 2, 3, and 4 are considered the best. And what they've done here for 2 and 3, they've remade them from the ground up. So it's kind of like what they did with like the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro remakes. Like they're completely brand new. They've got all these new mechanics to make it more modernized. Because with the old ones, they had like fixed camera angles. It was really weird. And I didn't like them back in the PlayStation 1 days. I did not like them. But once they sort of moved to like more proper third person stuff, they got fun for me. And this second one is freaking awesome. I'm mostly in like this, like, they say it's a police station, but it looks like a mansion. So I don't know what the fuck is going on there. But I'm up to this part
Mansions
where,
and police stations are famously look alike.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Like it's weird. It's like there's a prison connected to it, to a police station connected to a mansion, connected to some underground shit. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I'm at this point where, so I wouldn't call it open world. It's more like Metroidvania, kind of like if you played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, it's kind of like that, where it's not open world, but you got certain things you got to backtrack a lot, and
like
it all pieces together. Yeah. But what's really interesting now is there's this giant zombie guy who is not scripted in a way. So he literally roams around the entire map. And if you bump into him, like he will fuck you up. Like I don't even know if you can kill him yet. I'm really fucking scared because any corner I turn, he could be there, and you can hear his footsteps when he's close, but you don't know like, what room he could be in. So yeah, it's pretty cool in that regard. I'm digging it, man. I'm digging. Also, I've been watching. I think it's new to Netflix down here. Superstore. Have you heard of this show?
Yeah.
Superstore.
Yeah. It's been recommended to me like 5 times in the last week.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny because like the guys that recommended it to me, old ex-Hoyts cinema colleagues of mine, and they were literally like, dude, do you remember when we talked about like making a TV show like this at work when we were working at Hoyts?
Yeah, I imagine it'd be super relatable to anyone working in retail. But what boggles my mind is like I'm really into sitcoms, especially single camera sitcoms. When a new one comes out, I'm like one of the first people to jump on it. This is 6 seasons deep and I never fucking heard of it. And it was on like a major network. It doesn't have a lot of like big like celebrity names attached to it, but I just can't believe this went under my radar. And apparently the latest season, it's all about COVID. So like the shopping center they work in or whatever, like they have to wear masks, people fighting over toilet paper. I'm not up to that yet, but it's really funny writing. It's some of my like some of the best comedy writing I've seen on a TV show in a while. And I'm pretty like picky with that stuff. It's weird. Like I'm not crazy about most of the characters. Like I think they're all fine. But the weird thing is like the thing I like about most of is the writing, and that's not usually something that would be my favorite thing about a show. But yeah, it's pretty good. We've been binging it so hard though that I'm starting to get sick of it. But I think if I was watching it week by week, I would appreciate it more. But it's really funny. And now it's on Netflix here. Like I've met so many people who've said they started watching it too. It's pretty cool. I recommend it if you're into that sort of thing. What are you up to, man? What's been happening with you?
Yeah, couple of things. I haven't really been watching. I don't really have a TV show right now that I've been binging as much as I should. I'm about to finish Cobra Kai season 3, but I've been kind of stuck on it for a while. Not because of quality wise or anything. I've just been busy with other things. I picked up Ghost of Tsushima, which is awesome.
God,
it's
I love that fucking game.
I love it, man. I love the historical setting. I love just how true it feels. Like it seems very legitimate. It seems very genuine. And you know, the swordplay is absolutely fantastic. The setting, the graphics, you know, the dialogue, all of it is just so like dripping in authenticity, and it just makes it so. It just keeps me coming back. And, you know, like every time I get the prompt to like do a standoff with someone where you hold down triangle and, you know, you let it go at the right moment and you do the one swipe blade. Awesome, dude. I love it. It's fantastic. I'm loving it so far. And I also just recently, actually today, I finished reading guest of the show, Sean O'Connell, who is the managing director of Cinema Blend. He hosts Real Blend. I've finished reading his book, Release the Snyder Cut. So I'm going to be, I don't know how I'm going to be really reviewing that yet, because he sent me kind of like a review copy. I think what I might do is I might sit down and write out something for the website, just so I can have it in writing. Because I don't really think, I mean, you know, maybe I'll mention something like a short little review or something here on the podcast, but I think I'd like to sit down
and make a good
kind of
bonus episode, actually. Like you could like literally walk someone through what it covers, your thoughts, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm spitballing.
I mean, well, we're like, spoiler alert, we're gonna have Sean back on for the podcast. Like he's already locked and loaded and confirmed, so he's coming back, which is awesome. I'd love to have him back on and kind of like pick his brain, because it's a fantastic book. Like that's kind of like my thoughts on it. Like it's awesome. It's really well researched. He pays a lot of tribute to the actual movement. So, you know, everyone of note is like credited, like people who started the movement, people who did whatever, the actual suicide prevention organization as well. You know, he goes into some really, really good detail, and, you know, like, because he obviously got to sit down and exclusively interview Zach for the book. There's some insight in there that's really not out there for the public, which is actually kind of cool. Keep a lookout on the website, www.midnightdoublepheature.com in the coming days, where I'll drop the review. I just need to type it up because I only just literally finished it today. So
I'm really looking forward to seeing all the headlines I'm sure it's going to create for many articles out there with crazy quotes from Zach and things. I'm sure there's going to be something that, you know, breaks the internet.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a good book. It's fantastic, and I'm really proud of. I'm really proud of like Sean. Like I think it's his first kind of like book, and he because I follow him on Twitter, and the Snyder movement, the RTSC movement, mostly is made up of positive people, but as you probably already know, the negative ones love to be heard. They really want to be heard, and they really, it's a vocal minority. But yeah, I can see Sean like battling them off like in his Twitter feed, and it's just like, dude, I don't know how you deal with that, man. I'm sorry.
Well, it's funny because it's an interesting story because look, the movie obviously wasn't super well received. Although some DC fans will defend it to its grave, or they would, and then the news came out about Zack, and then I think some of them flipped or whatever. I think it's a lot of mixed emotions for some fans out there. But I think what a lot of people can agree with is it's always cool to see the director do it their way.
Yeah,
like nobody. Yeah. The thing is, like, there's a bit of a trope where everybody always hates studio interference. What no one talks about is, a lot of the time, it's actually a good thing. But in this particular case, I imagine it was probably a lose-lose scenario either way. But I love it with films like this and also like Suicide Squad. When you're missing so many pieces to the original puzzle, you can't help but think, what was the original puzzle? What did it look like, And I think it makes a great story. It's great that we had someone like Sean to document that so well. We actually got news recently about a release date. There was March or something. Or April. It's coming very soon. And I think they announced it's going to be a 4-hour movie. It's not on our agenda, but what do you think of that? Do you think a 4-hour? Because it was either a big movie or it was going to be a split up into a series.
Yeah, I'm down. I mean, look, I don't, and I said this, I think, on the podcast with Sean, and I'm probably going to say it again. I'm not really, I don't really care whether the quality of the Snyder Cut is going to be good or bad. I mean, like, I don't think it's going to, break any walls or anything like that. I think it's just going to come out. It'll be fine. It'll be better than the Justice League, the Joss Whedon one. But for me, yeah, it was absolutely an artist getting the opportunity to show his creation. Like that was a big part of it for me. Whether it's good or not, I don't really know. I don't really care. I mean, like I'll watch it. But we'll probably be on here next month sometime, this time next month, and telling you guys whether it's good or not. But I'm on board with the 4-hour movie. Like he does not do short director's cuts. I mean, like Watchmen, the director's cut is like 3 hours long. BVS Ultimate Cut is like 3 hours long. For this to be 4 hours long, I mean, yeah, no surprise. I mean, and I can sit through a long movie. I don't mind.
I think, yeah, like if that was the original intent, like I kind of am not surprised that would have scared Warner Brothers because, they're probably wanting to sell toys to fucking 10-year-olds and then they get told, oh, we got a 4-hour epic where we're going to, dive into some really dark themes and all that shit that Snyder loves.
Well, it's just confusing because, like, I mean, it's not like Batman vs Superman was a light movie or short for that matter. Like, But
at the end of the day, like, the reason the studios want to fund those movies is to get kids to watch them, which is, a little sad from a creative perspective, but that's kind of how those sort of films work. And yeah, I can totally understand why they would feel that way. Regardless, though, especially for mature fans, I'm sure this is going to be right up their alley. I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Warner Brothers, if you want me to do a segue for you,
please.
We got, speaking of Batman v Superman, filmed by Warner Brothers, we have another Versus movie from Warner Brothers, don't we?
We do. I guess you want to circle around to WandaVision. You don't want to
okay, yeah, we can go into that. I don't know.
I'm sorry, I ruined your segue. I ruined your segue. I don't know. I mean, like, okay, you know what? Fuck it. We're already here. Godzilla versus Kong. Let's talk about it. We'll circle around to WandaVision. This thing dropped, and everyone. I haven't heard a negative opinion on this movie yet, or this trailer yet. Other
That's a
than
good point, yeah.
other than the music, which I'm going to hit on because licensed music in a movie trailer is always somewhat of a negative. But this didn't pull any punches. Literally, didn't pull any punches. I think visually it looks outstanding. I think it it sucks because I'm kind of bummed that it comes out on HBO Max the same day as theaters. But I while fully recognizing that not everyone in the world has the opportunity to go to a cinema right now. I 100% know that. I'll definitely be seeing this in the cinema just because I can, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm thankful for that. But seeing something, dude, seeing the visual of King Kong punch Godzilla in the face, I'm just like, how can someone watch that at home?
Yeah, it's. I remember there was an ad. I can't remember if it was for this or maybe it was the old Godzilla, but there was a thing. It's like big monsters need a big screen. It's like it's so true in this trailer because they are
the original
gigantic.
Tagline for the '98 Godzilla was size matters, right?
Size matters, yeah, something like that. And look, you can totally see it here. This trailer, I want to say, has got me really hyped. And I've been, I wouldn't say super critical on the last two Godzilla movies, but I've been they're good movies and they have really good, they're clearly made very confidently, but they've been missing a bit of a fun factor for me that Skull Island had. And that's kind of why I like that better. This movie seems to do exactly what I wanted it to do. I remember mentioning this many podcast episodes ago, and I was saying I want this movie, Godzilla vs. Kong, to sort of be a mix between those two tones. And I think we're kind of getting that. I love seeing Kong and Godzilla fight in daylight for at least one scene. That's a big plus for me. Look, the licensed music, I'm willing to bet probably won't make it to the final cut, but at least it shows they're trying to go for a lighter tone, which I can appreciate. The other big problem with the, Godzilla films is that the human element has been a little lacking, but the fact that we've got, is it Millie Bobby Brown coming back, and now we also got
Kyle Chandler.
What's his name?
Yeah, Rebecca Hall. I mean, the cast is stacked, and that's another thing I've heard people talking about. There's still a lot of shitty human stuff in this. Judging from the trailer, some of the lines in this movie, in this trailer. How do you make Kyle Chandler, dude? Godzilla's hurting people and we don't know why. Oh man, that was a bad line. I was like, dude, I can't deal with that.
Look, I think what's good about this is the last two Godzilla films, they've been really mature. And I don't mean to sort of harken back to the point I was just making about Justice League and Batman v Superman, but these movies are ultimately meant to be vehicles to sell shit to kids. And it's really great for people like us who are mature and want a more of a,
wait, hold on.
Mature-ish, at old-ish. But we often want a bit more of a serious take on things. But I feel like this is the perfect mix. It's not going super kiddie like Pacific Rim Uprising was, or whatever the fuck that was called. It's not Pacific Rim. This is it's a good mix of two.
I'm just going to add something just before we do move on a little bit more. I actually see a lot more of Godzilla King of the Monsters in this than I do Kong Skull Island.
Really?
I think it's just maybe because of the scale of it. It seems we see the aircraft carriers, the cities. It just seems a lot bigger. The human stuff in this is a little more akin to that movie, whereas that movie was just basically taking Apocalypse Now and putting it into the context of King Kong.
From a setting perspective, 100%. You're 100% right. But I think with me, it's with those two Godzilla movies, they take themselves so seriously, and I feel 90% of the action scenes are done in the dark with dust everywhere.
Do you think King of the Monsters took itself seriously? I actually can't remember. I've only saw it once, so I'm actually genuinely asking. I know the first one did because Gareth Edwards, he wanted to hide it as much as possible until we got to that last act. Yeah.
it worked, but it can only work for one film. If you kept doing it, it would be horrible.
Yeah.
I think King of the Monsters, it took it pretty seriously, not as serious as the first one. Like the first one was like, really? But you know, I feel like there wasn't really a lot of fun elements. There were epic moments. There were cool action moments, but I wouldn't call it like a roller coaster theme park ride, like I don't know, a fucking Marvel movie or something is. This seems like it's still got that level of seriousness to it, but they're a bit more playful with it. I don't know. I know it's a lot to say off one trailer to judge its tone like that, but it's got me really optimistic. And
well, I think they've kind of learned their lesson
action scenes
from
look great.
Batman versus Superman, right? I mean, like, you have these two kind of like icons, you know, meet up, and then, you know, the movie is like overly serious, and yeah, like in order to kind of like really satisfy that versus title, you kind of like need to sit back and relax for a little bit. Well,
I'm glad you brought that up, because there's going to be a common theme on this episode of me tooting my own horn and saying I'm a genius, because I've got this. I'm going to say this about two things today, but the first one is, I don't think I said this on the podcast, but I had a really great conversation a few months ago off air with after party member Rick Gensuta. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, bro. I'm sorry, but Rick is a diehard Godzilla fan. If you're on the after party, you know this, because he'll post like a fucking Godzilla meme every day, if not two. And he was telling me about there were some quotes by some producers or some shit, and they're like, no, there's gonna be a winner between Godzilla and Kong and blah blah. They're not gonna like fake it out. And I said to him, even if that's true, I refuse to believe the movie is Godzilla versus Kong and then it ends. I'm telling you, and I was like, I'm telling you, they're gonna stop. They're gonna say, you know, where's Martha, or fucking, they're gonna see a common enemy, and then they're gonna team up and fight it. And I just took a random guess. I'm like, it's probably something like Mecha Godzilla or some shit. Now, there's one or two shots in the trailer that fans have coming out and saying that's it. And I'm like doing all the dances in the world, doing a big I told you so. I was right. I honestly didn't see it until Rick pointed it out to me. He's like, dude, he sent me these screenshots and he's like, you were right. I'm like, oh yeah, I was right. So that's, look, I'm not actually mad about that, to be honest, because the idea of King Kong and Godzilla fighting a robot Godzilla does sound cool. I'm not going to lie. It does sound kind of cool. And I don't want them to kill, and if someone's going to win, it's going to be Godzilla. 100%. But I don't want them to kill off King Kong. I would love there to be, I'm just saying from like a businessman perspective,
stuff to say against that.
he's going to say Godzilla makes more money, make Godzilla win. But I want a Kong Skull Island sequel, because I really like that film. I think do prefer... Jordan Vogt-Roberts has moved on, though. He's doing Metal Gear Solid next. Oh, yeah, but someone else could do it. Also, a Metal Gear Solid film, like, sign me the fuck up. Yeah. I'm on board for that.
From that director? I mean, visually, like that, yeah, that movie was amazing.
So much you could do with that. It'd be so great. But yeah, overall, like, I've got to say, the thing I'm most surprised about it is how much this hyped me up. Maybe it's a little bit of like, it's our first big trailer for 2021. And that might have something to do with it, because it's a bit more exciting. It feels like we haven't had a huge movie to be excited for a while. I guess we had Wonder Woman, but it felt like that was 6 months ago, even though it was like fucking probably 4 or 5 weeks. So yeah, I'm really surprised at how excited I am for this. This was a film I was always like, it'll be cool when it comes out. And now I'm seeing this, I'm like, I can't fucking wait. So shout outs to the fucking producers and editors.
This really pumped me up. I agree. I think I think it looks solid. You know, like, I mean, what else can I say? It's Godzilla versus Kong. Outside of the dialogue and shit, like, which is, you know, again, not important. I'm not here for an Oscar movie. I just want to see King Kong punch Godzilla, which is exactly what I got in the trailer. Like, they didn't bury the lead at all. Like, I'm so proud of the trailer for not hiding it. Like, we got a lot of Godzilla versus Kong in that trailer. Which
they could have very easily done a trailer which is like 2 minutes of he's coming, and then fucking origin stories, and then the last 5 seconds is now they'll fight, and that one punches one at the end. So you're 100% right. They did not bury the lead.
No.
Fucking good, right?
100%.
Because you just remind me of like, say, remember that first Venom trailer where you barely got a shot of Venom at all? And I just remember watching that and going, why would you fucking release this?
Venom. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that. It's like, why would you release this? The movie's called Venom and Venom's not in the trailer. Like, what the fuck? Like, I know that was just Sony being excited, but yeah. Anyways, stoked for this film. Looks like a great start to HBO Max. And yeah.
Yeah, nice, man. I'm keen as well. Let's move on to a different trailer, another trailer. We're changing gears here slightly. Well, not really slightly, like completely. This movie's called Silk Road. And when you brought this up to me, I was like, they made a Silk Road movie. Because just to give you a little bit of kind of like context. So one of my favorite podcasts of all time is Case File. Basically, it's an Australian-based podcast that kind of like did gangbusters overseas as well. Like it tops the charts in pretty much every country. And basically they cover every episode, they cover a crime, and it's basically it. Like it's just done for that episode. But for Silk Road, they did a 3-parter. And Silk Road is the story of, I'm just going to kind of like get into this very briefly. So Silk Road is the story of this guy, a young guy, his name was Ross Ulbricht. And basically he wanted a way to deal drugs, to sell drugs legally or acquire drugs legally. Well, not legally, but with low risk. So he was very good at computers. He was very good at IT and information tech. And he created a website on the dark web via what's called a Tor browser, Tor, Tor. And the Tor browsers were created by the American military for encrypted messaging, like when they'd kind of like, when they'd be out in operations and, they don't want any of their communications intercepted. So Ross Ulbricht was able to get his hands on a Tor browser and create what eventually became known as the Silk Road. And the Silk Road is where all of these members were able to access this website to sell drugs between one another. But then it became very he lost his kind of like grip on it, because eventually people ended up selling weapons, and then people ended up selling murder for hires and stuff like that. People kind of went crazy in terms of like what you can buy and what you can't buy. So eventually a police officer got a hold of he found a pill. He intercepted a pill in Chicago, found a pill, traced it back to where it was going, and it was Ross Ulbricht's place. But basically, this ended up being a huge thing. It started off with one cop, and I don't know if that's Jason Clarke's cop. So Jason Clarke is that actor, the Australian guy in the trailer. Okay, so he's playing Rick Bowden. The cop's name was Jared Duyagian. He was the first one to kind of like pick it up and be like, all right, this is potentially big. And then he kind of like, the way he explained it to his superiors was crazy, because his superiors were like, it's just a website. Like, what's the harm that it can do? Because this is before all what websites are capable of today, what potential websites are capable of today. Yeah. So all of his superiors were like, okay, it's just a website. What's the harm? It's just, petty drugs. But like Jared Duyagian was like, no, they are using American-made technology to potentially murder people. That is that has wide implications. And then the CIA got involved, the FBI got involved, the NSA got involved, and it became this like big kind of like collaborative effort to bring down the Silk Road. And the way that they actually arrested Ross Ulbricht, and I'm not going to spoil it here, because you're going to watch the movie. If you watch the movie, you'll see it, but it is nail biting the way that they actually ended up getting him. And it was made for, like, honestly, I told this story to a couple of friends of mine literally a couple months ago, and they were like, how is this not a movie yet? And yeah, I'm just like, I know, right? So this trailer kind of disappointed me. It seems like it seems like a teen drama, like it's made for like a teenage audience, and it's not really taking itself too seriously, and I'm just like, it's a bit of a bummer.
It's kind of feels like they're trying to sort of make it a little like a teenage Wolf of Wall Street, but with more drama in like an action sense. And here's what I want to get to. The thing that kind of confuses me with this trailer, which by the way, it still looks good. I am interested in seeing this movie, but I noticed in all the promo, from what I can see, they never say based on a true story or inspired by true events. And from my understanding, I'm getting the vibe that they've taken a lot, and I mean a lot of creative liberties.
The trailer that I saw definitely said based on the incredible true story or something like that. It uses a crazy like adjective like that.
Oh, right. Okay. You know what? It was unbelievable. Story so unbelievable, it has to be true.
Right. Yeah.
But they said like they haven't used the phrase based on a true story. You know, the typical wording. And it just makes me wonder, I don't know how it works, but are there like legal restrictions in how you can say that? Like,
not really.
Maybe I'm just overestimating it, but like, I don't know.
There's no legal restrictions as long as you're not, misleading someone. And I don't think that's intentionally like misleading. It's more, just kind of like a catchword, like a catch quote. This like if you were to type in Silk Road movie, you could trace it back to the real life story. Like it doesn't take that much digging to figure out.
I do know the main characters. Like it's the same name, it's the same guy. But yeah, I do question how much creative liberties they're going to take with this. But watching the trailer, as long as the movie's good.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, watching the trailer, it looks like that they are. I'm not going to say playing it pretty close. There are definitely moments in there that actually happened. So, Jimmy Simpson's character, he's the guy from Westworld. Chris Tarbell was a real guy. And obviously, Jason Clarke's character, Rick Bowden, was a real guy. So yeah, and there's a moment in the trailer when Jason Clarke, kind of has a guy on a stool, and he's kind of like drowning him in the bathtub. That actually happened. That was real. That's a thing. The reasons why,
snap. Okay.
Yeah, the reasons why I'm not going to get into it, but it's interesting in the setting of the story. Like it is a story that is ripe for dramatization, and I think I feel like based on the trailer, they went a little too far on the dramatization. Like infamously, well, not infamously, I guess incredibly, Ross Ulbricht, and I wonder if they'll include this in the movie, traveled to Bondi to escape the FBI at one point. So I wonder how they're going to play that.
I did notice in the trailer there was a shot of Sydney.
Okay, there you go.
Was there.
Yeah.
So I think you could be right. I think we might be seeing a bit of Australia. Something I want to point out here, two things. One, there's a really cool line in this. This guy's the first millennial gangster. That just has a cool ring to it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of true, I guess. I think that's cool. And also just want to point out, because I know I've sort of given a little bit of shit in the podcast before, how I don't really like Jason Clarke as a leading man type guy, but I'm really vibing him as a villain. I'm actually
he's
vibing
not a villain.
his performance.
He's playing the FBI.
He's not?
No. He's playing.
Okay, so a villain
would be
like
Ross Ulbricht.
But Ross would be the protagonist by the vibes I'm getting. Like I think he's the main character.
It depends.
Okay, in real life, I think in real life he wouldn't be the villain. He'd be the good guy doing the good things. But I feel like from the point of view
telling this
story, he is the villain. Does that make sense?
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that.
But I could be wrong. Yeah,
it's funny you mentioned that because a lot of the users of Silk Road and a lot of like Ross Ulbricht's actual friends kind of argue for Ross Ulbricht and say that look, he was just his sentence was too harsh and stuff like that, because his sentence is like, you can go and look it up. It's heavy, considering that he never killed anyone, he never shot anyone, he never attempted to murder anyone. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah, it kind of sounds sad. Like, yeah, he was doing something illegal, but he was just trying to do some dumb like college boy shit which is sell drugs. But
here's the
he ended
thing.
up creating a communication tool for terrorists.
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no, because and I'm not getting into spoilers here, but there was a moment in the story where he believed that he had ordered the hit on someone, and that he believed that person was murdered because of his order. So like that's what I'm leaving there. Like, so you can chalk that up however you want, but it's an interesting story, and I really, really recommend listening to those 3 case file episodes, because they're actually like really riveting. Like, it's, they're an hour each, really riveting to listen to. So
yeah, it kind of makes me think a little bit of no, I know it's not the same, but like The Social Network and Mark Zuckerberg, where he started off just trying to create a little website to connect people together that from his like little college, and now like he's in fucking Congress, like trying to prove he wasn't helping like governments
looking like
spread
a lizard
misinformation
man
and shit.
Yeah.
I've always thought this, but I would fucking love Fincher to come out and make a like Social Network too, based off recent events. Like, the material is there; he could do it. But yeah, anyway, Silk Road looks great. Well, looks all right, but does seem like a interesting way of telling a story, I guess. I don't know. Insert closing comments here. I'm sick, guys. Cut me some slack.
No, I think like I'll definitely watch this. I'm not sure if I'm particularly keen for it. I think the definitive story has been told by Case File, and the most entertaining story has been told by Case File. But we'll see. We'll see how we go. All right, moving on to another trailer that we have today is. I was actually unprepared for that segue, or lack of one.
Boss Level?
Boss Level.
You want to do Boss Level?
Let's talk about Boss Level. A trailer that literally kind of gave me a headache when I watched it.
Why is that?
I don't know, man. Okay, look. I like Mel Gibson. I love Frank Grillo. I don't know.
I love Frank Grillo too.
I don't know what's going on in this movie. I don't know who's doing what, why. I don't know why he has to die multiple times to save someone. Like, okay, I don't know if I was watching it and my eyes just glazed over and I wasn't watching it properly or thinking about it. But did I miss a line where they mentioned that they were in a video game?
No. So here's what we do know, and here's what we don't know. This is based off this single trailer alone. I have no other expose. I haven't been exposed to anything else. But it presents itself like a time loop movie, like, like Groundhog Day, Palm Springs, Happy Death Day, whatever. But it's an action film. I'm like, okay, fair enough, simple enough, I'm on board. And then you get to like the last 30 seconds of the trailer, and I see where your confusion, because I've kind of got it too. It's all of a sudden they're like, oh, the logo is in pixelated form, like a level.
Like,
the movie is called Boss Level. And it's like, it feels like it's not a video game movie, but they've tried to tack on this theming around the marketing as a way to sell it, maybe. But there's no reference in the whole trailer that it is meant to be video game. It's kind of like they've got the promotional campaign of Scott Pilgrim, but they've got like a completely different movie, like Bourne Identity or something attached to it.
Well, it looks like,
I do kind of like how I do acknowledge there's a bit of a quirky.
Oh, sorry, Matt. I think we have a bit of a delay, but I was just going to mention. Do you remember the movie a couple years ago? Not a couple years ago, maybe about a decade ago, rather, called Gamer with Gerard Butler?
Yeah,
it seems like it's semi-serious, but also weirdly joking, but also it's not taking itself seriously. But like, okay, look, Joe Carnahan is a good action director. He's a really competent action director. He did The Grey and The A-Team with Bradley Cooper and Liam Neeson. So I think the action sequences will be pretty competent. I think the trailer and the way it was cut, dude. I couldn't. It was so loud and. Man, like I just couldn't get a grapple on it. I'm just like, what is happening here? Tell me, give me something. give me something, man.
You got me thinking by the way you describe it. This little thoughts popped in my head. But maybe it's like a Suicide Squad situation where it was shot to be a serious movie, and then some note came from high up and they said, make it fun or make it a comedy. Because when you look at it, like the editing looks quirky and fun and the graphics are like that, but everything else kind of seems serious in a way. So yeah, that does seem to be like a bit of clash of tones between the footage they have and the way it's pieced together. Like you look at the logo and you look at the film and they look like they got two completely different briefs, like two completely different tones and visions. So
oh, dude,
I do wonder maybe halfway through or in post-production they tried to change it or something.
Possibly.
I don't know.
I need to read you something because there are some reviews already on IMDb. There's 8 reviews on IMDb, and I don't think they're genuine because this one is like 10 out of 10 sci-fi movie at its finest, right beside The Matrix. This is okay. I'm going to read this. This is the second.
That is a big claim.
This is the second time that I rate a sci-fi movie with a 10 right beside The Matrix. You guys, I can't believe what you did. Everything was perfect. Actors. Oh, by the way, he's addressing the filmmakers here in his review, being like, I can't believe what you did. Everything was perfect. Actors, action, SFX. People still write SFX. Okay. Storyline, all of you who put this symphony together should stay in the movie industry and talk about convincing Mel Gibson, the best actor of all time, to play in this gem. Wow, great job. I will talk about this movie to my friends in one word. In one word? Why? In one word? Did Mel Gibson write this?
Did Mel Gibson... Yeah, did Mel Gibson write this? I feel like I'm on like the second opinion segment on how did this get made, dude. That is a crazy fucking review. Clearly by someone who hasn't seen the film. Because that doesn't sound like a critic.
I mean, there's no
that's crazy.
There's no like deep and meaningful insight into a specific technique or like an actual aspect of the movie that they like. It's just surface
no
level
specifics at all.
Yeah. I love that. I love that kind of stuff. But I mean, look, what are your final thoughts?
Look, according to them, it's a great film. It's a great film according to them. So I'm all in because I trust Mel Gibson. He's never lied before or done anything like wrong or criminal. And why wouldn't you trust Mel Gibson?
Oh boy! Check out our interview with the Knowles brothers. No, anyway, give me your final thoughts on this trailer. Are you keen to check this out? Or, I mean, like, I could go one way or the other, to be honest.
I guess I could. Like, I was excited to see Frank Grillo in an action film in a lead role.
By the way, he's 55 years old.
He's a fucking good-looking 55.
If I look like that at 55 years old, dude, I'd run the world. I mean, I want to be like, dude, just give me the throne.
I'd be like that at any point in my life, seriously. But look, this film, it does seem like a mixed bag. I'm excited to see him in a lead role in an action film. But yeah, you're right. The tone seems weird. But my biggest takeaway is how over I am of these time loop movies. I don't know what it is. In the past year or two, we've had an onslaught of these films. And I guess it's just like a bunch of people wanting to be the first to do, what if we did Groundhog Day? But with this trope or this genre, but I feel like it's been done to death now. And I'm not saying it hasn't been done bad a lot. A lot of the ones we have seen are pretty good, but I'm just over this trope. Like these films, they're starting to feel very similar regardless of what genre they're mixing in, and I'm over it. Like, let 2021 be the year where we stop making time loop films. That's my final thought. I'd still watch this though. I'd still watch it.
Okay. Yeah. All right then. Fair enough. That's boss level. Let's circle around and talk about WandaVision very briefly. So we got 2 more episodes. We got episode 3, which is called Now in Color. We got episode 4, which is called We Interrupt This Program. I think we'll do something a little bit different that we did last time, because last time we just kind of like lumped them up and put them together. This time let's do a little different because these 2 episodes are very different to each other. So let's talk about episode 3 briefly first, and then go right into episode 4. Matt, give me your thoughts on episode 3 of WandaVision, Now in Color. Wanda, can you read me, Wanda? Hello, who's doing this to you, Wanda?
Both of these episodes, I would say, are the best episodes yet. Probably 4 might be better than 3, but I first of all, I love both of their names, Now in Color and We Interrupt This Program. I'm loving the themes of that. Look, it's cool to see. I guess it's kind of like a Brady Bunch kind of vibe there, and we're getting a bit more breadcrumbs, which obviously tie into 4, and it is kind of exciting to see it happen. I am also seeing, like, I made a comment last time where I'm saying, like, a lot of the comedy kind of feels like a bit of an afterthought. Like, the jokes are fine, but I feel like if it was like they had proper like sitcom writers and they were trying to make it funny, there would be better jokes. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just there's so much more they could do. But yeah, it's cool to see. I guess it's cool to see the sitcom vibe with more of the superpowers getting involved. Really, I just want to jump into episode 4, so I don't really have a lot of other comments to make on this, other than I'm excited to see what tropes they do next.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of all I can think of saying.
Episode 3 was interesting to me because it was like, this is the first time that we've actually acknowledged by name Pietro, her brother.
Yes, and Ultron.
And Ultron in a while. And like, not only that, but like one of the big things that Ultron actually did. I mean, like, we hear about, Sokovia all the time, which is great and all, but I mean, like, we never hear about Ultron in particular. I mean, like, we hear about, yeah, exactly. Like, it's crazy. It was actually like an awesome, like, kind of like name drop. And not only that, just kind of like the moment where she kind of like comes out of her trance and she's talking to who she thinks is Geraldine. It's just like it's a crazy moment in the show when it's just like, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, it feels genuinely unpredictable. You don't know if she's going to rip her apart. Like, you don't know if she's going to throw her out. You don't know if she's not going to do anything. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, we're put in a context and it sort of carries on to the next episode, which makes it for a great cliffhanger. But it's kind of like, hey, is Wanda a good guy or a bad guy in this situation? Like, what is the motives here? What is going on? Because we also know how dangerous she can be. So to see all that, and actually just ask more questions, like, how did she get to the situation? How is this happening?
I'm gonna.
So it's this. Yeah,
I was just going to touch on something that you mentioned about the comedy, and like, this might sound like a bit of a cop out, but I think it's half of the reason, and I'm not going to try and explain it away, but it's more like I think comedy changes. Like, everyone finds. Like, we don't find the same things funny that people did in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. We look at a meme and we start laughing. I guarantee you, like, if someone else back in those days are just like, it's just a fucking photo. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
yeah.
My parents don't find
there's a lot of context.
Right, exactly. My parents don't find the same things I find funny, and vice versa. So, like, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to find things that works in both contexts, because they know that this show is airing in 2021, right? So they have to appeal to some kind of audience. But at the same time, they are also kind of like restricting themselves to a certain time period. But where I say that it's half of the reason is because, and I heard this on Fat Man on Batman, because Batman or Fat Man, whatever, Batman Beyond, because I don't want to take all the credit for it. But one of the guests that they had on last week talked about, like, the laugh track that they have. They don't laugh at everything. They don't, like, sometimes they laugh at things that just straight up are not funny or aren't even like punchlines. And it kind of like got me thinking, like, it seems so eerie. Like, it seems like so kind of like broken. The guest talked about, like, it even sounds like at points the audience is laughing at them rather than with them. Like it just seems kind of like a record that just seems off. And it kind of like got me thinking. I'm just like, yeah, like, because I watched it again. I actually went back and watched all of the episodes again. I watched it twice now. I've seen every episode twice now. And there are moments in those first 2 episodes in particular where it's just they say something that is in no way, shape, or form funny, and probably wouldn't even be funny in the 50s. And the audience laughs, and it's just like, yeah, that is kind of off now that I see it.
It's an interesting observation. I would say it could go one of 2 ways. One way would be it's totally plausible that the reveal is some other force has put them in a show and is watching them for their entertainment. So maybe even Wanda's going against her will or something, and so they're laughing at them too. But it's also equally as plausible to say that is also a trope that people criticize sitcoms for. There are a lot of jokes that aren't funny that laugh tracks are thrown in. They need that laugh to happen every 10 seconds. So sometimes it's the most obvious. It's barely even considered a joke, but they'll like you see this all the time in Big Bang Theory. They'll say something no one in their right mind would consider it funny, but the crowd goes wild.
Totally.
So it could literally be like completely one or completely the other. Like maybe it's both, but it's both. It could be a story point, but it could also be like a weird trope thing. What I do want to mention, and I can't remember if I mentioned this before in the podcast or if I had it in a conversation or what, but you raised a good point about how comedy sort of changes over time. And I remember having a conversation with someone once about like dad jokes and puns. If you look at any comedies from the 80s, especially if they're starring someone like Chevy Chase or whatever, or I know stuff like The Naked Gun or whatever, like a lot of the jokes are just basically what we would call dad jokes.
The Naked Gun is all dad jokes. Like,
yeah. And like when something like in my head, just like a glass shattered when I realized this. And it's like dad jokes are really just 80s jokes. The reason they're dad jokes is they're the jokes dads grew up on. And so the jokes that we're finding funny now will be considered dad jokes in probably 20 to 30 years time. Like we're going to be out here talking about dick jokes and stuff, and our kids are going to be embarrassed. Like, why are you talking about penises, Dad? Well, that's inappropriate. And we're going to be like, but Seth Rogen says it's funny. Right. And they're like, ew, you listen to Seth Rogen.
We're going to say something about the flat earth, and they're going to be like, well, yeah, it's true. It's been confirmed that it's a flat earth. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, 100%.
It's completely possible. Yeah. It is completely
Let's get
possible.
to episode 4. We interrupt this program. Now, this episode was interesting for a number of reasons.
Yes.
Primarily because it, like the title says, we interrupt this program because it breaks away from this structure, this formula, or this kind of like sitcom kind of like style that they've built up for these first 3 episodes. So before we get into the actual content of the episode, you know, with Maria Rambeau, talk to me about your thoughts on that, on it breaking away from that.
Well, I think one of my first thoughts was like I thought about our conversation last week and how I was like, I do imagine how at some point they would change completely to drama, but I was like, I think I said I don't see it anytime soon. I can't believe it happened this quickly.
I think I called this.
Like,
Did I call this?
Yeah, you kind of did. Like, I wouldn't say you were exactly on it, but you were pretty close. So you got close enough that I'm willing to give you.
Thank you. I'll take it, because I was like, after episode 3, like, I mean, like they need to start giving us stuff. And
actually, I remember now. You said something under the lines of, how long can they keep this going? Like, they need to do something big to switch it up. And I think your suggestion was maybe completely changing. But I think when you said that, you were thinking the entire show would change that way. I think you're half right, because what I imagine is happening, and this is speculation, but the reason we got a full episode of that genre is because it ties back in the previous episodes. I imagine now we're going to get a 50-50 split for at least a couple episodes. I could be completely wrong, but that's why I think you're half right, because we did get that change.
Come back.
You are right. We did get that change. And you were also right about the timing.
I mean, like, it's in the title, right? We interrupt this program. Like, it's just an interruption. It's not like it's not a full on like 180, you know, like it'll be back.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think I was surprised that it changed this quickly, but I guess from a narrative perspective, it kind of does make sense, especially since the midpoint. You kind of expect some form of escalation. It's just such a big leap narratively that it kind of gets you off your guard. But I guess that's what good writing is, right?
And like, now that they've given us context, right? I mean, like, we know, you and I know that this took place after Endgame, right? But the general audience did not really know that this took place after Endgame, right? I mean, like, you know, we see them coming back, and like, this confirms too, because my dad was like, oh, okay, this takes place after Endgame, right? Like, I mean, like, you know, like, he's
like, that's the assumption you would make,
right? Yeah. I mean, like, I told him, right, obviously, that it takes place after Endgame because Vision's dead. Like, that's one of the big questions, and that's a big question for Darcy and Jimmy Woo, who, you know, let's
So happy
let's
they're
get
back.
into, right? I mean, like, you know, Darcy's back and Jimmy Woo's back. I mean, Jimmy Woo, so charismatic in this. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, I think as Carlos pointed out in like our poll, like he managed to find like get the card trick down from Ant-Man and the Wasp, like,
Yeah.
which is a nice
So
little
good.
moment. And Darcy is Dr. Darcy, right? Which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I don't know if she had that title
She didn't.
in the but it's cool. Like she feels like in the second movie, she kind of felt a bit off because she was the wacky sidekick who had a wacky sidekick. But this feels a bit more return to form for a character and what made her work in the first film, which is what I kind of like about her. I find her a bit more likable here than I did in Thor: The Dark World. And even Jimmy, like he feels like he's fitting in like a bit of a Coulson role, which is kind of cool. But yeah, dude, I can't believe this episode tied WandaVision with Captain Marvel, Thor,
Endgame,
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Endgame, and there's a little like reference even to Age of Ultron. Like this may be the most connective tissue thing we've had yet from the MCU. Right. And I remember watching this and noticing all this and like, this is everything I wanted Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to be. Like, this is what they promised us and we never got. Like, when they're selling us Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're like, it's going to connect into the movies and all the characters are going to show up. And I think we're all expecting Iron Man to be in an episode or something. But we never got that. We got like a cameo from Sam Jackson, a cameo from fucking Lady Sif or whatever. And we got one from Colby Smulders. And I think that was it. Like, we got barely any connective elements there. Here, it's just like the floodgates are open. They've got all the toys in the toy box to play with. And what I love the most about this episode is it feels like I'm watching an MCU movie. Like the tone, the writing, the way it looks visually. It feels like I'm watching an MCU movie. And that's what I always wanted from MCU television, you know? So I finally think we're getting what we always kind of wanted out of this. So I'm really excited for the more of this stuff. And I'm also excited for, like, you know, Loki and Falcon Winter Soldier, because it's kind of confirming that they are willing to spend this money. They're willing to go this far. It's going to feel like MCU-ish. And that makes me really happy as a nerd.
Yeah, I think this episode confirmed to a lot of people that this is, you know, WandaVision is a Marvel show. It's an MCU show. It's a Marvel show. It is what you know. It's, you know, like, given those first 3 episodes, that is kind of like the unfamiliar. But a lot of people aren't really comfortable in the unfamiliar, right? I mean, like, you know, a lot of people don't like to be out of their comfort zone, especially when it comes to Marvel, because like Marvel have kind of like carved out their, you know, like their audience. Like they know what their audience wants.
Yeah,
right, exactly. So, you know, once they give us episode 4, which they know is a return to form in terms of comfort for a lot of people, then they have a lot of, now they have people hook, line, and sinker, right? Before it was just like the hook, right? Like here you go. We're gonna give you guys something with these first 3 episodes, and now it's just like we're gonna start reeling you in. Sorry, were you about to say something?
You know what I low key wish? I low key wish. I would have hated it at the time, but I would have loved it. I would have hated it at the time, but I would love it after. Imagine if all the promotional material for WandaVision was just the sitcom shit. So they tricked us into thinking it was just going to be a very typical sitcom, like they were phoning it in. Yeah. And then imagine if that happened and we got hit with this shit. Like, our minds have exploded the fuck out. Yeah. Like, I guess Marvel always had that expectation of, you know, we are larger than life. We have to be big. But imagine if someone hadn't seen the MCU movies, and there's someone on my newsfeed on Facebook actually said they hate Marvel films, but they love this show, which blew my fucking mind open.
I've seen people take that stance.
Like, I'd imagine this would be
it's people who are liking the Lost element of it and the sitcom element of it. And I think the show is going to continue walking that line. Now, I think the entire episode was fantastic. It was a great way to tell us a lot in a half an hour. You know, mainly though that Wanda is responsible for this, or according to Monica's kind of like observations at the end of the episode that Wanda is responsible for this. But also, I need to talk about that cold opening, because that cold open before the logo was just, because we know, like, we saw people come back comedically in a very comedic way in Spider-Man Far From Home, but here it was like Walking Dead kind of shit. Like, it's just like you're gonna, like, sorry, the opposite of Walking Dead rather, because everyone's coming back. It's not just you by yourself, right? I mean, like, this is like overpopulation.
It does remind me of the pilot of Walking Dead,
right?
Like the hospital, like everything's hell's broken loose.
And the effect,
that was so cool.
The effect of her like coming back, like all of her pieces like fitting back in, and it's just like, oh my god, it's beautiful. And like it turns out her mother passed away while she was, while she was blipped. Just adds a whole, another layer of tragedy, and it's just like, man, like this is awesome. And like her coming back to work to Shield. Not Shield, Sword, not Shield. And finding out that, her mother created this. Like there's a lot of, this is Marvel showing you that there is a lot of untapped story left to be told in terms of Maria Rambeau, her mother. And, we'll see that potentially down the line in other Captain Marvel movies, but yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, I think, okay, first of all, I'm going to be honest. It took me a minute or two to understand what was happening. Like, it didn't click for me. We had gone back in time. I had just assumed we were still going, and I know because we'd sort of seen them blip into like vanish, but not sort of reappear like that. So it took a couple minutes for it to click with me. That's what it was. So when she was like, "Oh, well, you've been missing for all this time," it did hit me straight away. But then when people start appearing one by one, it was pretty cool to be like, "Oh shit!" Like, of course it happens like this, because it's such a different tone to the Spider-Man films. But it wasn't played for laughs. It was almost played like almost in a horrific effect. So that was pretty cool. The other thing I want to point out is like, okay, let's talk about Sword for a minute. Like, they kind of feel like they've come out of nowhere. I feel like at some point there was a conversation like, we really need to keep S.H.I.E.L.D. around. It's like, fuck it, let's make it Sword. But that's cool because I feel like it makes sense. They need to have some agency like this going through it. It was cool to meet Sword. It was cool to see his elements. It's cool to just think about how it's going to affect the MCU moving forward. Can I talk about moving forward though? I think, speaking of which, I want to point out, so, I said earlier, there's going to be a few like, I'm so smart moments. Two things that happened that got me going, I'm smart. One, it's a very small one, but I predicted the voice in the radio was Jimmy because I knew he was going to pop up eventually. So tick for me. And two, going into the trailer for the next episode, there's a single shot.
I haven't seen it. Do not mention anything. Please don't.
Don't mention
it. Okay. No, look, okay. And you might. I know you're probably like, oh, maybe the listeners want to hear this.
I think you're going to love the next episode. Okay, cool. If I'm correct, right, you're going to love the next episode.
Yeah, like maybe maybe you're like, oh, maybe I'll save this for the listeners' benefit. Yeah, just save it, because I've been going into this show completely blind, like in terms of like what's going to happen next. I haven't been watching anything.
Well, what I find interesting about this show and the way they're promoting it, and this is 0% spoiler, so don't worry, but every time they try and advertise an episode, 90% of the footage is actually from previous episodes. So they're kind of being done in a way to catch people up on the mystery. And I haven't really seen a show do that much before, but it's kind of exciting because as someone who's fully invested, it's cool to just get those reminders. And it's almost like they're saying, we're going to answer this next time. Doesn't mean they're going to, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Yeah.
But I'm excited to see how the show moves moving forward. I have no idea how this show's going to end. Like, this episode, if anything, just got me thinking of all these possibilities. Like, I know it's safe to assume that if this does tie into multiverse shit, like, obviously it could tie into Spider-Man and Doctor Strange very well. But I can't say that because it's a spoiler. I'm going to keep my mouth shut and I'm not going to say anything about the future anymore.
Okay, so we're anticipating the next few episodes. Yeah. Let's move on. We loved these last two episodes. It was fun. It was great. It was awesome. Marvel are
Very excited.
as per usual, knocking out of the park. We're not really, breaking new ground there by saying anything like that. But let's move on to.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say sorry. I just also realized, in case no one else has gone through this journey with me, but something that sort of clicked with me with episode 4. I don't know if this clicked with anybody else sooner. Like, I think I thought about it before, but it really stood out. When you see Darcy watching them on television, like the vision, like double entendre sort of thing of television and the character vision.
Hold on.
It's like, I never
Are you
really
piecing this together now?
like I'm just saying, I sort of thought of it before, but like it really feels like it's doubled down, because something I never thought would happen in the show. Something I never thought would happen would be a scene where the character is watching television and seeing the sitcom. Like, I always thought it'd be like some sort of reality imagination thing. I never thought they would ever acknowledge it. And when there's a line from Jimmy and he's like,
We got that
you're
at
telling
the end of
me
episode
that
1,
we're
right?
watching a sitcom about, oh, well, you just saw the screen. You didn't see anyone.
No,
like, we literally
you
have
do.
characters
You
sitting down,
zoom
watching
out,
it, and
zoom,
talking
you
about
zoom
it.
out and you see someone typing in front of a computer or something. You definitely see hands. You
Oh,
definitely
yeah,
see
but
someone.
I mean, like, yeah. But this is like, we literally have Jimmy saying, we literally have him saying, you're telling me we're watching a sitcom starring 2 Avengers, one of them who's supposed to be dead. And like, when you hear like the character within the reality talking about it in a way that kind of doesn't break the fourth wall, like there's some, like, this is not just a cube. There's like extra layers in here, because it's like Wanda and Vision can break the fourth wall within their show, but still be within another show. And then if they were to acknowledge us, it'd be another fourth wall break. It's just really bizarre,
like
and I
16
never
walls.
expected them to address it. Yeah, like I never expected them to address it. But like in hindsight, I guess it's the only way you
Yeah.
could maybe do it.
Let's
But like
move on.
generally in other shows, when they address, I just want to say, like in other shows when they do like imagine it's a sitcom and it's not, like they never acknowledge that. So this is different, and I'm interested to see how it moves going forward.
Yeah, same. I mean, like, that's, I 100% agree with every point you've made. Like it's one of the most, I guess, titillating shows that's been on the air for a while. Like, in terms of like, let's keep them coming back. So yeah, 100%. Let's get into our one single review of the week. And that is One Night in Miami.
Ready for tonight? I'm as ready as a person can be. After the fight, we're all coming back here for the Champs Victory Party. Don't be late.
Minister Malcolm X. Good news, the chariot is coming.
You know I'm the greatest. That's right.
Jim Brown takes the ball.
Your record is going to stand the test of time.
How's everybody feeling tonight?
All together, yeah.
New heavyweight champion of the world.
Say, champ, you don't suppose you could sign an autograph?
Yeah, of course, man. Give him an autograph, Jim.
Actually, Mr. Cook.
Oh, sure thing, brother.
One Night in Miami. Matt, did you watch this? I recommended it to you, and I was like, come on, man. I don't know. Like, you asked me what reviews I had for the show, and I was like, all right, I have One Night in Miami. And then we kind of like had to delay the episode for a day. And I was like, by the way, check it out if you haven't.
So, I'm halfway through it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm if you want to spoil it, I'm going to say it's okay.
I'm not going to spoil it.
But I tried to. I started watching it. I wasn't
spoil it.
able to finish it. I'm probably more than halfway through. I'm probably close to 3/4.
Okay.
So I've got enough that I can give my impressions so far. But
maybe wait
it's
till
not
next
gonna
episode.
be a,
Maybe
like
just
a
be
proper
like
review.
these, like, when we talk about what have we been doing lately, you can just kind of like be like, these were my thoughts or something on but like, let me get into this.
I've seen enough I can make comments, but
Okay.
yeah.
The One Night in Miami is the first movie directed by Regina King. If you don't know Regina King, she was the lead in the Watchmen TV show. She won an Oscar for If Beale Street Could Talk. She's a pretty big actress. This is an astounding kind of like first film. Like it's just like, how does someone make this as their first film kind of thing? So if you don't know what it's about, this is the premise. So it's Muhammad Ali. Back then, he was known as Cassius Clay. Sam Cooke, who was a famous vocalist. Malcolm X, who, I mean, if you don't know Malcolm X, he was the, I guess, militant leader of the God damn it, why am I blanking on the organization? The Muslim,
Black Power, would you say?
No, it was the Brothers of Islam. The Brothers of Islam. Yes, and Jim Brown. So Jim Brown, NFL player turned actor. So this is a partially true story. So while these four people were in the same kind of like location after Cassius Clay's fight against Sonny Liston in 1964, they were never in the same kind of room. And this movie kind of like imagines, what if they were in the same room? And if they were in the same room, what would they have talked about? So this movie kind of like finds, there's two kind of like strands of conflict here. And both of those strands have Malcolm X kind of like right in the middle of that conflict. So this is a time when Muhammad Ali, or Cassius Clay, is trying to enter the religion of Islam under Malcolm X's kind of like guidance. And this is also at the same time when Malcolm X is trying to get out of Islam. So you kind of like have some conflict between Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali, as Malcolm X is trying to mentor Muhammad Ali into coming into the religion while he's also exiting. And it's just like, man, what an awesome kind of like setup that is. Like, what an awesome conversation that is. But then you also have Sam Cooke, who is a singer, who is a vocalist, who mostly performs for people in the South. And the South is obviously, racist white people, people that Malcolm X hates. So Malcolm's just like, man, like, Sam, you are kind of like, you're showing off for all these white people, and you never sing from the heart. You never sing from the soul. You call yourself the king of soul, but how can you be the king of soul when you don't sing about your own people's problems? You don't sing about what's coming out of your actual soul. You're just making these people happy. And it's just those two kind of like strands of conflict, and the way they talk about the civil rights movement without actually talking about the civil rights movement. It's kind of fascinating, considering how many movies about the civil rights movement we've had lately. Given what's happened in 2020, it's kind of crazy. And then you have Jim Brown, this character he's not kind of like blasé about it, but he brings up a point in the movie that I kind of actually do want to share with you, and I'm hoping you've reached it. But he sits down with Malcolm X, and it's not super spoilery, so hopefully you won't mind, but sits down with Malcolm X, and he's like, Malcolm, when you win the fight to get equality against white people, you should know that you will never achieve equality within the black community, because currently, the light-skinned black people will segregate from the darker-skinned black people like they always have, like they always will. So who are you doing this for? And it's just like...
This is literally the point I got up to.
Oh, okay. Because it's just such a good point. I'm just man...
I saw the conversation.
I've never seen that argument raised in a movie like this. And I'm just like, that is actually really powerful. And the way that that Aldous Hodge, who was in other movies, by the way, Straight Outta Compton, The Invisible Man, that's where he's from. The way he brings it up is just like, man, like what a crazy, crazy concept. What a crazy idea that's never brought up in movies like this. But yeah, this is, yeah.
I'll also say, just to piggyback off that, there was a conversation, I think not long before it, between, about how, what's his name? He owns the masters for the songs he has, and he did that song for the Rolling Stones covered his song, and he's talking like, yeah, these white people are singing my music, but I'm getting the money.
Right, yeah.
I'm putting that money into supporting black artists, and like Malcolm's all like, well, you're not. Are you really supporting like the blacks, because you're not really talking about this? He plays a Bob Dylan song and says like,
supporting yourself.
Yeah, and it feels like this film is, and it's really interesting. It kind of feels like someone was doing like some PhD in like the history of like whatever, and they took these four really iconic people, and maybe some like criticisms people might have had of them or critiques, and they put them in a room where they could mix that together. And this film weirdly reminds me of, if we're going to plug an interview of ours, Gun Hotel Bible, where it's the idea of putting these people with I don't know if opposing visions are like this is the right wording, but they're people at different points, put them in the same room, lock them in that room, and make them have like this philosophical debate. I think this film does it in a really interesting way.
I love
that's
movies
kind
like
of
this.
it took me by surprise. I did not expect it to be so much in one location. Like, I know they move around a little bit and stuff, but like most of what I've seen so far takes place in a singular hotel room.
Yep.
And I think the only criticism I have so far, and it's really nitpicky, but I just feel like the way Malcolm convinces everybody to stay in the hotel room as a way just to talk about stuff, it kind of feels a little forced, but it's worth it to get the conversations we do get. I'm really surprised at how not boring it is. I feel like there's a lot of potential in the hands of like a lesser director. This could have been a pretty boring film of just people sitting there like, well, I believe this, well, I believe this. But like weirdly, I don't know how they did it, if it's the writing or the way they approached it, but like you feel emotionally invested.
100%. When you keep characters in one spot, like, you rely on the
characters are three-dimensional still.
Yeah, you rely on the actors and the writing. So I think I want to point out the writer of this movie is a guy named Kemp Powers, and he actually wrote the play that this is based on. And, you know, sometimes it can feel like a play because it's in one location.
Of course it's a play. Yeah, oh my God.
So, but like that doesn't take away from it at all. Like I love movies that are set in one location because, again, you're relying on the writing and the strength of your actors. But like Kemp Powers, I just want to shout him out real quick because he, in the same year, he also wrote Soul, like Pixar's Soul, and co-directed Pixar's Soul. And it's just like, man, like how did you achieve both of these things in the same year? It's kind of crazy. But this is one.
What a mind.
This is one hell of a film.
What a mind.
It's got like second to none acting. The writing's amazing. The score's great. The pacing's fantastic. Again, you don't feel bored at all. Cinematography is beautiful. It's crisp. I think this is, you know, if this is Regina King's first movie, I cannot wait to see what else she's got down the pike.
Yeah, look, dude, I'm still just blown away by hearing it's a play because I made that comparison to Gun Ho To Buy, which also is based on a play. I think that's so interesting. I guess plays, it's a great medium to express these type of stories. But this film, I wouldn't have known that if you didn't tell me, because I think what's really works with this film, from what I've seen so far, have not seen the ending, can't give conclusive thoughts, but so far with my experience that I found really exciting is how three-dimensional these characters are. Like, if you gave me this concept and you told me to write the script, I would be walking on eggshells the entire time. Like, I would feel scared to write anything critical about Malcolm X, for example, right?
Malcolm X,
like,
especially.
How do you approach something? Yeah, like, how do you even approach that? But there's a scene, I can't remember who it was, but I think it happens actually a few times where someone's literally lecturing Malcolm X about racism. And it's like, it feels like you're not allowed to do that, but the way they do it is so believable, and the way they communicate, the dialogue is weirdly believable.
Here's the thing,
in a way, like it's really well done.
So think about this as a writer. Someone's lecturing Malcolm X. Let's say it's Muhammad Ali. You would need to put yourself in the mindset of how Muhammad Ali would structure his wording and get out his kind of like idea and viewpoint as Muhammad Ali to lecture Malcolm X. So it's just like, you know, it's not even like someone lecturing Malcolm X, it's Muhammad Ali lecturing Malcolm X. And based off, you know, you would need to do all the research to check out, like, you know, what Muhammad Ali's mannerisms were and like how he acted, you know, according to his family. However, like, I mean, like the guy's still alive, so I mean, like, you know, it's not that crazy, but yeah like it's
but still it's a lot of research.
100%. And I think, you know, it's definitely, you know, sorry, I can't believe Muhammad Ali. I said Muhammad Ali's still alive. I just looked it up. He's fucking dead. why am I confusing? Dude, I'm fucking thinking of Mike Tyson. I fucking got it confused. Also another.
I thought you were going to say like, you're thinking of your dad since you're also Ali.
Yeah. No, sorry, I was thinking of Mike Tyson, also another Muslim who converted. But yeah, so this is an absolutely astounding movie. I think, you know, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. If you have Amazon Prime, it's an Amazon Prime exclusive. It will 100% be in the Oscar race. For what categories, I'm not sure, but definitely Best Actor.
Yeah.
It'll be in the acting category, and possibly director and possibly adapted screenplay. So, yeah.
I could definitely see those last two 100%. Probably acting too, but I just don't want to say anything without seeing the ending because I don't know how you would end a film like this, but I imagine the possibilities are
fantastic
endless.
Ending. It is a great end. Like, you kind of like it's like a 300,000 pound plane, and you need to bring it in for a landing, and she does 100%. But
yeah, this is the first time I've had to talk about a film I've only seen half of on the podcast, but I really do feel like I want to talk about it just because I got one more point I've sort of touched on, but I haven't really got into is I think one of the reasons why it's not boring and why it is so engaging is because they can criticize the characters and stuff and the way they interact. They feel like real people. Like they don't feel like a lot of the times when you see like, celebrities or legends and icons, they don't even seem real sometimes. Like they seem more of like an idea than a human. But like you see them fucking up. You see them like have emotions. Like at one point they talk about getting pussy. I'm like, whoa, I would not read that in a history book anywhere. That is crazy, but it makes them so much more believable and realistic. And that weirdly has won me over to be even more emotionally engaged. So seriously, great writing, great directing, and great acting. Dude, those mannerisms and the acting of whoever plays Muhammad Ali, like I know what Muhammad Ali sounds like. He sounds like him. He did a really great job.
Absolutely.
So,
fantastic.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the rest of this.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on to our final thing of the night. And this is going to be very, very quick because we are kind of like running long. We didn't have an official MDF game that we put out to the after party, but we are just going to play one just for the lols. So we are going to play what is our favorite versus movie. And the only rule that we have set for each other is that the word versus has to be in the title. Matt, what's your favorite versus movie?
Yeah. All right, so I got an answer, but I don't know if it's cheating. So if it's cheating, I have a backup.
I have one too, but I don't that's why I said the only rule is versus. It doesn't have to be true giant monsters fighting or anything like that.
Yeah, because the original intention of this game was Godzilla vs. King Kong. So what do you got? Freddy vs. Jason, Alien vs. Predator, Batman vs. Superman. But you worded it as the one rule is it has to have the word versus in the title. And my favorite would easily be Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I knew it.
Not two franchises colliding, but I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. We spent
so I got to guess yours now?
3.5 hours covering it. Yeah, but I don't think you'll ever guess mine.
Yeah. Well, what's yours?
I don't think you'll ever guess mine. In a million years, you'll never guess it.
Is it? I'm going to go out there. Is it Cowboys versus Aliens?
No. God, no.
Is it Housers versus Authority? Is it Ford versus Ferrari?
No, actually, but that is a good pick, but no. I'm just going to tell you because you'll never guess it.
Was it Monsters versus Aliens?
No.
What? What is it?
It's a movie. It's a small horror comedy movie called Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah, okay, I know that movie. I've seen it. That's good. That's a good
comedy, dude. And I love Alan Tudyk. It's such a unique premise. Like it's just like, man, you don't see this anymore. Like you don't see this kind of premise anymore. And it's so unique. I love it. Great performances, great comedy, great horror. Yeah, fantastic movie. One of my favorite movies.
For people who don't know Tucker and Dale versus Evil, I think a lot of listeners would love this film. The premise is imagine like a typical slasher film, but the teenagers being stalked by the killer don't know he's not a killer. The clumsiness of the teens are accidentally killing themselves, and they're just blaming this innocent person who's not a psycho killer stalker, which is, I know it sounds a bit played out when you say it that way, but it's one of the best horror parodies I've ever
hilarious.
seen. It's one of, if you had to tell me to make a top 5 favorite satire, I might pick that. Might make my top 5 because it's very unique. It's a good pick, man. It's a good pick.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's a bit of a small film. But
Matt, we are closing this out. Do you have anything else to say before we head out of here?
Nothing much. We love you. Be safe. Subscribe to Velomat Films on YouTube because I'm really trying to plug that shit right now for the next few weeks. But yeah.
Don't you fucking bring your wares over here. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Crossing the streams. I'm crossing the streams a bit.
Yeah. You're not supposed to cross the streams because, what is it in Ghostbusters? Like, he's just like annihilation.
I can't remember, honestly.
But yeah, no, look, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Upcoming Attractions. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Right at the top of this episode, we haven't alluded to it, actually, in this episode. We have the interview in this episode with Kevin Lewis.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Should we add something at the start, or what do we do?
I'm going to do some editing fuckery, so don't worry. But yeah, this is going to have the interview with Kevin Lewis, who directed Willy's Wonderland, starring Nicolas Cage. So we hope you enjoyed that interview. And, that was such a great get for us. So, guys, thank you again for listening to this episode of Upcoming Attractions. If you want to follow us on our socials, check out the show notes. They're right at the bottom. Head to patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature to become a fan or to become a green room member and support the show. We are a lowly indie podcast. We don't have any advertising. We don't have any sponsors. We are completely self-funded. So if you could help us out, spare a dime, spare $5, that'll be fantastic. We will see you guys on the next episode of Midnight Double Feature.